You're listening to the Liberty Talks podcast with John Douglas, with contributor to the program, Matt Travis.
We have to find a way to talk and have dialogue and be tolerant between other views.
You have to have open dialogue, and that's where free speech is so important.
Consent's a very important thing, and today in the Me Too movement, it's been very important because I think it's really opened up a lot of eyes.
I think we should get away from this hookup culture and get back to relationships, because when you have a relationship, you have that communication, you have that connection.
If you committed sexual assault, it doesn't matter when it was, you should be held accountable for that. However, we have to make sure that we actually make sure they committed sexual assault, and we have to make sure that all allegations are verified.
They'll put in these programs thinking that it'll help everyone, but what they forget is that the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I think that's what this whole movement is all about anyways, is trying to be open to ideas.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Liberty Talks podcast. This is Matt Travis, and I'm here with John Douglas. This is going to be first of hopefully many podcasts. We're going to try to make this a regular thing for every Tuesday evening. We'll probably put it up on Wednesdays, maybe Tuesday evening. We're still working the details out, but stick with us. So today we're going to talk about a few different topics. First, we wanted to start on the recent abortion laws that were passed in Rhode Island, Virginia, and New York.
The Rhode Island bill, I do not think has been passed yet. It's still in committee.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So one was passed in New York. Virginia bill didn't make it past a committee, and then the Rhode Island bill hasn't been passed yet. But I'm going to go ahead and let John Douglas take it from here, because he knows quite a bit about that.
Yeah, so first we can start with the Rhode Island bill, since that is the current one that has been passed and still potentially will be passed. And basically what the Rhode Island bill is, I read it in its entirety. What it says is that it legalizes late-term abortions and partial birth abortions. Basically what that means is a partial birth abortion is whenever the lady, the mother starts giving birth to the child, and about halfway through the process, when the child's pretty much its head sticking out, they do a lethal injection and kill the child, and then finish the birth, which is just insane. I mean, at that point, the child, there's no difference between like when the child comes out from the time before it came out in the vaginal canal. So just one of the crazy things that Rhode Island's doing, and it gets much worse. But first, Matt, can you believe that? Like partial birth abortion?
Yeah, I know. I remember the first time I ever heard about partial birth abortion was whenever I think it was during the second time that Obama was running for president. And yeah, I was just astonished that was even a topic at any point in time, because there was a period of time when I wasn't really paying attention to politics. And I think that's whenever Barack Obama had voted for partial birth abortion, or didn't vote for a ban of partial birth abortion. Not even like voted not present, but actually voted like, no, we don't want to ban that. That's about it. Like, it's just insane. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it really cuts against the Democratic talking point for abortion, in that the fetus is not a human life until like the heartbeat. Therefore, you have a right to kill it. Or usually the third trimester is when I hear the most. But now they don't care. We don't care if it's live or not. We want to kill it, because killing it makes us virtuous is really the reason why we want to do it. So we can see this unfolding real time. How radical the Democrats are moving in this direction. So actually things about the bill that most people probably do not know is the bill also makes it legal to intentionally or unintentionally kill an unborn child, which means that like if a man assaults a woman and like beats her and kills the unborn child, he could not be held accountable for killing the unborn child.
Yeah, and to some extent, that is a logically consistent law, because what is actually the difference? And it basically the only difference that Democrats seem to have between a woman having abortion and somebody else killing a woman and it counting as double homicide because she was pregnant is that the woman wanted the baby to be alive or didn't want the baby to be alive, which is an insane standard. We don't use that standard for any other human life. We don't use that standard for a toddler, for an adult, for a child. It doesn't matter what stage of your life, we don't use that standard. But for some reason, a baby with toes and fingers and legs and arms and a heart and lungs and fully formed can be killed inside the womb by the mother who doesn't want it, and it's not murder. But if she wanted it and somebody else killed it, it is murder. It's absurd.
Yeah, well, what I want Democrats to answer is, at that point, what's the difference between killing like a baby during a partial birth abortion or a late term abortion and killing like a 6-month-old baby or 1-year-old baby? What's the difference at that point? Why can't you kill a 1-year-old baby by that logic?
Yeah. And we could get into the philosophical arguments of what they would say with like bodily autonomy, which doesn't make any sense because you have to use your body to take care of a 1-year-old, or you have to use your body to find somebody else to take care of a 1-year-old, just as much as you're using your body to take care of one that's living inside you at the moment, whom you most likely chose to be there. But yeah, so that's the Rhode Island law, but that wasn't the only place where we saw some absurd abortion laws passed within a span of a week. There was also New York, which was almost just as bad in my opinion, because I see a child in the womb as an actual human being. So New York, basically similar to Rhode Island, they legalized it up all the way up to, for pretty much any reason, all the way up to birth, because what the law essentially amounts to is that you need a health of the mother exception. And I think there's a Supreme Court decision a little bit after Roe versus Wade, actually like immediately after, I think it was the next day they ruled on this decision, that defined health of the mother to include psychological, mental, and a whole other slew of things that would.
Yeah, so basically whatever she wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And the worst part is, back then after Roe v. Wade, the standard for Democrats was safe, legal, and rare.
Yeah.
But now they passed this abortion bill in New York that allows abortion all the way up to birth. And they were cheering and clapping, and it was just the greatest thing for them. And they even made, I think it's called Liberty Tower, the tower that's replaced the Twin Towers. They lit it up in pink to celebrate how now we can commit infanticide and murder children just an hour before they're about to be born. It's a great thing. So why wouldn't murdering children be a good thing?
It's fascinating. I heard a stat. Hopefully this is true. Hopefully I'm not putting out fake news out there, but I heard a stat that there was literally not a single second given airtime on CNN, ABC, NBC, and a few other major networks about the New York abortion bill, even though they lit up the statue and everything. Like it's astounding how whenever the Democrats passed something that is truly radical, because the Republicans do things and people say that they're radical. They don't do radical things. They're far less conservative than they were 15, 20 years ago.
I would disagree with that notion. I think they've become more conservative, but no, I wouldn't say nor anything near radical.
Yeah, nothing near radical, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would say they went to the left for a little bit. Now they've moved back to the right under Trump.
I would say you're right. You're right on this particular issue. I think they have become more conservative because we've seen a lot of stuff passed at the state level when it comes to abortion.
Yeah, like in Iowa, they just passed the heartbeat bill, which basically it makes abortion after the heartbeat illegal, which would eliminate most abortions, which is a good thing. To me, I think all abortion should be illegal because, in my view,
absolutely,
because I'm right about this. Life begins at conception because you can't define life anywhere else besides conception.
Well, I have an interesting question for you there, just to pick your brain, because we just kind of met recently, so we don't fully know what each of us how each of us handles these questions. What would you say to somebody who says that if you make it illegal at every stage, what are you going to do? Charge the woman with murder if she gets an abortion?
No, I've actually gotten that question a lot. And you wouldn't charge the woman with murder for abortion because she doesn't know that what she's doing is committing murder. She's been told by the left and the mainstream media that what she's doing is not murder. It's actually a great, wonderful, glorious thing. It's actually going to make her a better person, and that she's going to be proud that she got an abortion. The left has clearly lied to women on what abortion is. They celebrate it now. On the intersectional left, part of the intersectional scale is if you had an abortion. If you had an abortion, then your opinion is inherently more valuable because they think that by having an abortion, you've done something more virtuous. So no, I don't think a woman should be held accountable for murder because she didn't actually do anything wrong in her mind because she didn't know. She's been told by the left that what she's doing is right. Now, on the other hand, the doctor who commits the abortion, he knows what he's doing is killing a life, a human baby.
So I'd
And
say,
I think if you want to hold a doctor accountable for murder, I don't know if I'm willing to go that far yet, but I think you could definitely debate that. I think that should definitely be on the table.
so this is where we would disagree to some extent. Um, um, I would say that there's a good case for definitely the doctor, because this is how you have to think about it. If once it's illegal, then it's stated by law that it is murder. So at that point, you have no use in saying, well, you know, I went to the shady doctor and got this illegal abortion, but it's not really murder.
Yeah, if it was illegal, I would agree with you.
Yeah. So I don't think we should retroactively like go after people that have gotten abortions, because that's unjust. Even if somebody commits an unjust act against somebody else that the government should prosecute them for, that it would be just for the government to prosecute them for, if there was a law, that doesn't mean that it's retroactively just to apply to retroactively apply standards.
I totally agree.
Yeah. But I am always like, I'm never a huge advocate of the argument that they don't know what they're doing, because if you watch a lot of videos of women that go in to get abortions, and there's with protesters outside offering to like take care of their kids and yada yada, a lot of times you'll see them telling them, you know, that's your baby in there, please don't kill your baby, we'll provide funds for you so that you can get through the pregnancy, yada yada. And a lot of them will just straight out admit, like, yeah, I know it's a baby, it's my child, I get to do what I want with it. It's some really pretty terrifying things sometimes.
Yeah, they say that it's obviously awful. I've been to Planned Parenthood before. I've seen some pretty awful things. I once saw a woman walk out of Planned Parenthood, and the moment she walked out, she just fell straight to her knees, and her husband had to pick her up and actually put her in the car. So
Stuff, man.
It's a horrifying place, and the Planned Parenthood I was at is literally right down the street from where I live. It's in Houston. It's the largest Planned Parenthood in the Western Hemisphere. So
where is that one?
I
used to live in Houston. Where is it?
Yeah, it's right next to University of Houston.
Oh, right next to University of Houston. Okay, I thought you were just saying in Houston at first.
It's right down the street.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I went to University of Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the biggest Planned Parenthood is there. But
yes. So if you ever go there, you're going to see some pretty terrible things.
Oh, it's crazy, man. But anyway, so after these bills went through, so is the Rhode Island one? It's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, it's still up in the air. There's a chance it will get passed. I think it will get passed because Rhode Island has a democratically led legislature. Yep. And the Rhode Island bill doesn't even start there. It does tons of other things, such as the way they actually justified doing this partial birth abortion is there used to be a law in Rhode Island that was actually said that life begins at conception, and the new bill that they're trying to pass in Rhode Island completely got rid of it. It gets rid of it entirely, and so therefore now in Rhode Island, if this bill gets passed, there will be no defined law as to when life begins, which really puts up into the air of when you can get abortion. And that raises back to my earlier question: why can't you just get an abortion anytime after that? Even not just abortion before birth, but post-birth abortion.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But anyway, so we saw these laws come out over the past week, passing in New York, still going on in Rhode Island, and failing in a committee in Virginia. Well, actually, I was going to jump to the Northam's, isn't that how you say his name, Northam?
Yeah, Ralph Northam.
Ralph Northam, yeah. I was going to jump to his comments, but first let's watch so we can get a better understanding, so that people can know we're not just saying crazy things. Like, this is literally what's in these bills. Let's watch some of this video of Congressman Tran or Delegate Tran talking about what is in the Virginia bill.
I forget how they call their people there.
I think they're delegates there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Virginia is one of those weird ones. Wait, you're from Alabama, right?
No, I'm not from Alabama.
You're not from Alabama?
No.
That makes sense because your accent doesn't sound Alabama. But I thought you have an Alabama number. What the hell was it? For some reason, I thought you were from Alabama.
Okay. I'll tell the story real quick.
All right, go for it.
When I was in middle school, my parents would never get me a cell phone. And so I have family that lives in Alabama. And I went to see my uncle in Alabama. And I told him while I was there that my parents won't get me a cell phone. He was like, why won't they do that? And I said, I don't know. I can't pick up any girls without a cell phone. As soon as I said that, he drove me straight to AT&T. And that's why I have an Alabama number.
Oh, man. That's great. That's wonderful. All right, this makes sense. So you from Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, seems like these are questions I'd asked before we did a podcast together, but that's cool. But anyway, let's get into this video here. This is a delegate, and in fact, I think Tran is the one who introduced the bill. I think this bill has been introduced, or a similar version of it, a few times in Virginia, but she's the one that introduced it this time.
Yeah.
And to keep, this is not radical people, or these are radical people. These aren't radical people for the Democrat Party, because in Rhode Island, 39 of 75 representatives sponsored the bill that you were talking about earlier in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And there's only like, it's probably maybe like 75% of them are Democrats.
Yeah, they're not fringe.
So that's almost all the Democrats. Like it's at least like 3/4 of the Democrats are supporting these bills where you get to abort your 9-month-old baby.
Right. It's a mainstream position in the Democratic Party. And really, I think it's always been a mainstream position. They're just too scared to talk about it. There's this funny thing with Democrats. Anytime a Democrat tells a Republican what his policy was, like repeats it back to him, Republicans like, yep. Anytime a Republican repeats back the policy to the Democrats get angry.
Yeah. Exactly.
Interesting thing.
Yeah. So let's watch this video of Tran telling us what's in the Virginia bill. Again, this is the delegate that introduced the bill. I forget how many sponsors this one had, but it was a significant number of sponsors on the Democratic side as well.
Including the one who admitted that she didn't even read it.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, let's go ahead and listen to this real quick. Here, let me share my audio with John here, and we'll find out if we're competent.
Would simply willing to
let's go back.
see, would you?
It would repeal the requirement for
You hear
2 additional physicians in cases of 3rd trimester abortions.
Delegate Tran,
Yes, sir.
how late in a pregnancy would your bill apply if a physician would simply willing to certify that the continuation of the pregnancy would impair the mental health of the woman? How late are we talking about?
Well, so the way the suggestion that we've made in the bill is to say it's in the 3rd trimester and at the, with the certification of the physician. So
how late in the 3rd trimester would you be able to do that?
It's very unfortunate that our physicians.
I like this just stumbling over her words, trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to answer this without sounding like a complete degenerate? How am I going to answer this without sounding like the most depraved individual on the entire planet Earth?
Spoiler alert, she fails.
Yeah, she does fail miserably. So
witnesses were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your bill. How late in the 3rd trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
Or physical.
So, through the 3rd trimester. The 3rd trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay.
Bam, there it goes.
Yep.
All the way up to 40 weeks. For people that don't know, 40 weeks is 9 months.
And at the very end there, he says, so to the point of dilation, and she says, yes, my bill would do that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So
but to the end of the 3rd trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So,
yeah, I lost you for a second.
Where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth. She has physical signs of that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman.
I understand that. I'm asking if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
There it is.
Okay. So not only up to birth, but also if you're in the process of dilating, we can still kill your baby for you. That's what the bill allows. What was funny about this is afterwards she had he started asking more questions that were similar. And then he even went on, he said, well, then what you're saying is obviously a week before. He said, I was thinking about asking you about a week before, but obviously we know the answer to that now because you said up till the woman's dilating. But what was funny is he started asking some more questions about mental health or physical health of the mother. Oh, it was physical health of the mother. That's what it was. And started asking some more questions of that, as far as that goes, probing her. And she brought up a lady from NARAL. And for people who don't know, NARAL is, in fact, well, I'm not going to play it. That'd be too difficult to find the right spot. But this lady from NARAL basically got up. He asked about physical health issues with the mother being an exception to have an abortion. This lady came to this presentation. She works for NARAL. She gets these questions all day long. This is her job. Her job is to answer these questions so that she can get more abortion laws passed. NARAL, the original name of NARAL was National Abortion Rights, National something Appealing Abortion Rights. Like the name of their, or no, Appealing Abortion Laws. So literally it's like appealing abortion laws is the last two letters in that. So their whole purpose is to try to get abortion laws upheld. So that this is her job, is to answer these questions in a way that makes you want to be like, oh yeah, women should definitely be able to get abortions. And her answer to the physical health problem was to start pointing out fetal anomalies. And he's like, well, no, I didn't ask about fetal anomalies. Like, that's an entirely different question. He's like, I asked about what conditions for the, as far as the mother's health goes, what conditions can you give me would a woman be in which she would have to have an abortion at 30 weeks or whatever, third trimester, that she would have to have an abortion, and that would be more beneficial to her rather than having the baby killed and then birthing the dead baby. Mm-hmm. And she didn't have an answer. This is her job. This is what she does.
Right. They don't have an answer because the truth is that they don't care. They're not going to try to be consistent on this anymore. They've played their hand, and it's a weak hand, because the truth is that most Americans don't even agree with them on this. These are radicals, but in the Democratic Party, they are not fringe. They are mainstream, but they are not mainstream in the United States. In the United States, they are still radical, and I have some polls to back that up. And and so for example, in a recent Mars poll, it came out just a couple weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, pollsters started asking just Americans general questions on abortion. And here's the amazing thing. 75% of adults said that abortion should be, at the very most, limited to the first 3 months, with the plurality of 28% saying that abortion should only be limited to cases of rape and incest. So, 75% of all adults in the U.S. said that at the very most, you should only be allowed to get an abortion before the first 3 months. And then of the most people who responded, the plurality said that of 28% that you should only be able to get an abortion in case of rape and incest. So that's just proof the pro-life movement is winning, because the majority of people do want restrictions on abortion. If you break it down by pro-lifers and pro-choicers, obviously pro-lifers going to be pro-life. 96% of pro-lifers agree that abortion should at very most at max be limited to the first 3 months, while this is the amazing part, 61% of pro-choicers agree that abortion should at max be limited to the first 3 months. So
that's crazy. That's
a huge majority. And even
that's
when
probably what's interesting about that is most of the public, I shouldn't say most of the public, most young people who are more likely to account for those that are pro-choice, right? And I don't say that because most young people are pro-choice, but because most young people are more liberal, and eventually they will go over to this side. Now, I think we have a larger pro-life movement with younger generations than we've ever had, but I think that has a lot to do with the separation of values within our country to such an extreme that now you have third trimester abortion bills passing. So that kind of stirs things up in people whenever they see the Democrats getting so radical. The younger generation that is conservative is going to be much more active. But most people that are going to be pro-abortion are going to be liberals, and most young people are liberals. So that section is probably relatively ignorant because they haven't had kids. They haven't felt a kid kick in their wife's stomach. They haven't felt a kick in their own stomach. So most of them are actually going to be relatively ignorant on what a life in the womb actually is.
In fairness, this poll did say adults, so it did not talk about the...
Oh, okay. I was talking about adults. Well,
yeah.
That's even more amazing then.
Yeah.
Because that means that, okay, well, that makes sense. Continue on.
But this poll, it also broke down, it asked these questions and broke them down by political party. Yep. So 92% of Republicans think that abortion should have restriction at a maximum of the first 3 months. And what do you think it is for independents?
Independents? Oh, man. I mean, I would have said 50-50, but after hearing this, I'm thinking it's a lot a lot larger gap than that.
Yep, 78% of independents
78.
agreed with Republicans that abortion should have restrictions on it at a maximum of 3 months.
That's crazy.
And what do you think it is for Democrats?
Oh, man, I have no idea.
60% of Democrats concurred.
60%. That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is not a mainstream position amongst the country. It's only a mainstream position amongst the Democratic Party, who is in a running gun battle right now. For each member is in a running gun battle to be the most radical person on the scene. Because right now, the Democratic Party, if you want to rise up, you have to be the most radical person. And in the truth, that is the reason we're seeing all these pro-abortion bills, these abortion all the way to birth bills. They've completely given up all their arguments to have these. And then the amazing part is that they're not in the majority. They're not, these positions aren't popular at all. The American people do not agree with this. And I hope we see it come out. I think Democrats have actually made the pro-life movement stronger by going so radical so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully so, man. I hope that this wakes people up to their policies in general. I think a lot of their policies are wildly immoral, and we don't talk about them on a moral basis. We tend to say, well, that's not practical. And I think we should talk about them on a moral basis. And hopefully this opens people's eyes, because I've seen quite a few number of people, especially like some YouTubers that started out more liberal, that over time, as they started thinking about issues, they became more and more conservative. And I've heard a couple of them say on podcasts from time to time that one of the issues that got me there is I was on college campus. One of the issues that got me thinking maybe I'm wrong about all my liberal ideas. I'm walking around college campus and I see somebody I see somebody doing a pro-life thing, and somebody gets mad at them. And I hear this conversation going on where somebody's saying that we should allow this up to birth and that nobody should be ashamed of it. And they just look at that and go, wait, this is the Democrat Party? This is the liberal idea on this, the so-called liberal idea? And I think that changes their mind. That eventually leads them thinking about things going down the road.
Yeah, or they agree, because we have a problem of morality in this country. And so not everyone's on the right track, because most people, as you can see right now with the attack on religious people, there is a lack of morality in this country. And speaking of a lack of morality, Ralph Northam, the guy you talked about earlier, who basically said that babies should be put on the operating table when they're born and chopped into pieces.
Yeah.
He is, so now it's come out that his yearbook, his medical school yearbook, had a picture of either him in a KKK outfit or in blackface. And oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. And well, it's terrible he did it, but it's so great from a karma perspective, because this is the guy who didn't just say that we should put kids on the operating tables and kill them. This is also the guy who ran an ad saying that his opponent for the Virginia governorship, Ed Gillespie, basically wanted to run down minority children in trucks. And the way he said that was he actually allowed an ad to be run on TV that showed a man in a truck with a Confederate flag and "Don't Tread on Me" license plate that had Ed Gillespie for governor sticker, going down, driving and trying to run down minority kids as they run away.
It's fascinating.
So he basically was saying, don't vote for Ed Gillespie because he wants to kill minority children. And now it comes out that he's in a yearbook, in a KKK outfit, or a blackface, whichever one it is. It's I don't think there's any redeeming factors for one or the other.
Oh man, it is amazing. Well, my favorite part, just focusing on the racist part of it. My favorite part was whenever he tried to defend it. Well, first he came out and kind of like seemed like he admitted, oh my bad, that was a stupid idea. And you're kind of like, all right, you're a complete idiot, but whatever. If that's not something you do now, that's not something you do now. So we can move on, I guess, to some extent.
I was gonna say, you're a rational person who actually thinks that we can forgive people.
Yeah.
No one on the left's gonna let this down. He's done.
Yeah.
At least he's done to the left. It looks like he's trying to hang in there, which we'll see how that works out. But go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, what was funny is then less than 24 hours later, he comes out and he goes, oh, wait, actually, I thought about this. No, that's not me in those photos, but I did do it this other time. There was this other You're just like, okay, that was the worst defense that you could have had. Like, so you were confused at first, and then you realized, oh no, that wasn't one of the times that I dressed up in a blackface or KKK costume. It was actually another time.
Yeah, whenever he dressed as Michael Jackson and put on blackface. And then, it got even better during that press conference because then they asked him if he would moonwalk, and he almost did it.
God.
His wife had to stop him from moonwalking during a press conference on him talking about why he's not racist.
Oh, man. It's hilarious.
Oh, and then the other funny part is he asked for a facial recognition specialist to see if it's him.
And then,
One question about that. How is a facial recognition specialist going to see through a KKK hood?
Yeah. I saw a picture. I don't know. Maybe this is some conspiracy stuff. But I saw a picture somewhere, and the only reason I say it might be not conspiracy technically, but fake news. The only reason I thought it might be fake because I didn't see it anywhere else. But there's a picture of him wearing the same pants he has on, that the blackface guy, wearing those same pants somewhere else. It was like exactly the same pattern. But I guess somebody could have photoshopped that just to try to finish him off.
Yeah, that does get verified though. That's just going to be hilarious. And the story gets even better though, because now Ralph Northam, apparently in an attempt to save himself, has basically dumped Oppo research on his lieutenant governor for having a sex scandal.
Oh man!
And now, God, if you're a Virginia voter, I wonder what you're thinking right now.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I bet you wish you would have voted for that Republican.
Well, on that point, with him doing these things that are racist, it's fascinating. I thought the response too after this blackface and KKK photo came out, how particularly in my world, I follow a lot of theologians and evangelical pastors and stuff like that. They were upset initially about the abortion thing, right? Except for liberals. Liberals weren't that upset about it, but they were upset initially about the abortion and the infanticide. But they really, really got upset when they saw the blackface photo. And it kind of amazes me. I look at these things and I go, like, what world do y'all live in that this is anywhere close to being comparable, much less the blackface thing being so bad that now you're asking him to resign? He advocated for basically infanticide, didn't ask him to resign. He advocates, he comes out that he did a blackface photo, and now you're like, all right, he should resign.
Yeah, this is the bad thing, is the blackface photo, not killing babies after they've already been born.
Yeah, exactly.
Not actual infanticide.
It's fascinating.
But the amazing thing is that you said it was Christian pastors actually saying this.
So I can look some up. I know Russell Moore was one of them.
You see, if you're a Christian, and especially a Christian pastor, and you're more angry about the blackface or the KKK hood than infanticide, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I would say you're a bad Christian.
Yeah, here we go. So I'll try to share this real quick. We'll see if this works. You see that?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. That means it should be showing up for the viewers as well. He says the Ralph Northam controversy is rightly drawing attention to the twin evils of racism and abortion. Twin evils. They're twin evil. It's like, what are you talking about? There's no way you can equate these two things. It's insane.
Let's be honest. In the 10 Commandments, it does say thou shalt not kill. It does not say thou shalt not wear blackface. Both are still bad, but clearly one is worse than the other, and it is infanticide, the killing of actual babies who've never committed a crime in their life, the most innocent thing who cannot protect itself. Killing that is one of the worst things I think you could do under the eyes of God.
Yeah, but the thing that I find the most ridiculous is this right here, where it's #NorthamResign on it. Which I'm like, he didn't do this whenever he found out about the infanticide. He just said that, that's a bad thing. We shouldn't do that. But now that we found out about the blackface, he wants him to resign. It's just fascinating.
And speaking of Christians, what I want to know is, why haven't the Pope or like high-ranking Catholics come out and excommunicated people like Ralph Northam or Governor Andrew Cuomo for preaching infanticide and celebrating it? Like, Andrew Cuomo is a Catholic, and that like just a few days after he allowed abortion all the way to birth in New York, he got rid of the death penalty in New York.
Yeah.
So you can't do lethal injection of criminals, but lethal injection of babies is all right. But it's not just all right. In New York, it's a good thing. On the left, it's a good thing to lethally inject babies.
Yeah. So this brings me to another point. Another thing that annoys the shit out of me is whenever people make this holistically pro-life argument. Like, for instance, I have a tweet here with Beth Moore. You might have heard of her. She says, I hear exactly what you're saying, but she was responding to somebody's thing. You don't need the full context to understand where she's going with it. I hear exactly what you're saying, but I'm thankful to add that both Dr. Moore, the guy whose tweet we just looked at, and whoever this other person is, won my respect over a biblically holistic approach to pro-life from conception to the grave. So these are people that compare those two things. These are Christians that are justifying that some of them on the death penalty, some of them are justifying that. But even if they're not, even if they're just talking about, like, the death penalty is an obvious one. Like, if you think that it should be okay to abort children, but you don't think it should be able to kill somebody who went through the justice system, had due process, and found out that he murdered and raped 15 people, and now we can't kill him, but you think we should be able to kill a baby, like, you're just insane. I can't do anything with that. I can't help you. But even whenever it comes to issues like immigration or like poverty, they want to implement socialist type policies in order to alleviate poverty. And they're comparing that to the pro-life movement. And it's like, do 800,000 people a year die because they were poor in America? Like, is that happening?
That's actually one of the arguments they make, though, is that since people are poor and that babies might be born in poverty, they might as well just be dead instead of actually live through it and try to create their own life.
Yeah.
That is one of the arguments for abortion. And this is the thing. The only way the left argues abortion now is by completely dehumanizing babies. And this is not new. People have done this since the beginning of time in order to make it all right to kill people. The Nazis did it with the Jews. The Turks did it with the Armenians. The Japanese definitely did it with the Chinese. They dehumanized them to the point where killing them isn't a bad thing. It's something. It's good. It's something to be celebrated because they're not human.
Yeah.
And so the left is engaging in this right now, just with the unborn, because they have such a radical view of a policy. And really what it is that they're trying to get higher office, and the only way they can do it right now is to say the most radical thing. I wonder how many of them actually agree with it. I think a lot of the politicians agree with it, but we know from the polls that the American people don't.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about that is whenever they blame it on Republicans, the lack of, like, even if they were right, which they're not right, it's insane. Like, even, all right, well, first let's go into the gun thing, because liberals are against people having guns. Essentially, they won't say that, but that's essentially what their policies would amount to.
Kamala Harris basically said that we should eliminate all semi-automatic rifles in the country, which is almost every single gun in the country.
Yeah, and because of the children, right? Because they want to save the children. Well, what's fascinating is there. If you look at gun murders. So this is a good thing with late-term abortion, right? Another argument they'll make for late-term abortion is that it doesn't happen that often. It's only like 1.5% of cases, yada, yada, yada. Well, yeah, it doesn't happen that often if you compare it to abortion, but if you compare it to any other form of murder, any other form of killing, unjustified killing, then it happens very, 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 very often. Because in a perfect stat to look at is gun murders. Because I am a proponent of the Second Amendment, and I would not lie and say that there's not a significant number of gun murders that happen in the U.S.
Right,
we have a very high gun murder rate in the U.S. And
the one thing, note, it has been going down for several years.
Yeah,
now.
for like 20 years.
Yeah,
that's why I hate the stupid. Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, when everybody acts like it's getting so bad, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's getting bad. 20 years ago, it was like 2 to 3 times the rate it is now. Like, it's been getting way better. That has decreased more than anything else. And there are a number of factors that go into that. There are more late-term abortions today than there are gun murders per year. Because there's roughly like 12,000. It might be less because it goes down every year. It goes down. Like you said, it's been going down for like 20 years. Every year it goes down. But now we're at the point where gun murders, now if you include suicide, it goes up to like 60,000. But gun murders is around like 10 to 12,000. Late-term abortions is definitely over 10,000. Because 1.5 of like, I think,
Wow. I didn't even know
average over
that.
the last 10 years, it's like 800 to 850,000 babies a year are killed. If you take 1.5%, that's like 12,000 right there. So there's literally more. So to say that it's rare is insane. It is not rare. It is rare because there is such an astronomical number of murders of the unborn happening on a regular basis in the US right now. It's only rare when compared to itself. It's not rare when compared to anything else.
That's an amazing point. And it also shows that the Democrats do argue with fallacy. And the fallacy they argue with is that since it happens to one person, it should happen to everyone. So for example, they say, oh, well, a mother might need to get late-term abortion because the baby might harm her, might kill her, which statistically speaking does not happen.
Yeah.
I think last year, like less than 100 women died from abortion. I died from pregnancy in the U.S. So I mean that is like 0.00 to the in whatever power amount of people in the U.S.
Yeah.
But the argument they make is because that tiny, minute amount of people died, which is terrible. It's awful they died. I'm not saying it's not, but since they died, we should legalize abortion for everyone, no matter what, all the way up to birth. And this is where they're always going to go with it. I don't see any scenario of them backing down from that.
Yeah, and to your to the credit of that comparison, let's just compare that just to late-term abortions again. You're looking at 10 to 12,000. So if we make it completely illegal for a woman to get a late-term abortion, make no excuse at all, you can never get it. Even in the case of saving the mother's life, you can't get it. Worst case scenario, we have less than 1,000 women die. Right? Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But whenever it comes to late-term abortion, you're looking at 10 to 12,000 happen. Now, I'm also, to be fair, I'm basing that statistic off of statistics that show that women don't usually get abortions because their life is in danger. They get abortions for a number of other reasons.
Yeah, I think last I chose about 80% of all late-term abortions are done by women who just don't want to have their baby at late term. It's not because they're actually in any danger. And that's the crazy part, because that completely cuts against the Democratic argument.
Yeah, there will be arguments like I didn't have enough funds at the moment, so I had to wait. I didn't. I was trying to make a decision. The father of the baby didn't want me to do it. Yada yada, things like that. Those are most of the reasons for late-term abortions. It's not the health of the mother.
Yeah, and so there's really there are no good arguments for late-term abortion. I've never heard one, and most arguments that are made are arguments based in fallacy and fiction.
Yeah,
and really that's what it comes down to.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap things up here. We've been going for about 50 minutes or so, but I do have one other topic to close out with. This one's kind of a fun topic. I guess it's a fun topic. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I saw this. I was at work today, and I just happened to look down at USA Today, and I found an article. Let's see if I can pull it up here. There it goes. And the title of the article was Adidas pulls all-white sneaker created for Black History Month in wake of Twitter backlash. So essentially what this was about is Adidas put out a new sneaker for Black History Month, and it was entirely white, and it was made like a majority out of cotton. And so people on Twitter were losing their minds. And I thought it was hilarious for a number of reasons. First of all, to me, it's absurd to lose your mind over this, because you can't even say they're racist, because even if this is offensive, which I personally don't think it's freaking offensive, even if it is offensive, even if it should be thought of as offensive, this just shows that Adidas is so innocent. It's like the that monkey, what was that hoodie that H&M put out? Coolest monkey in the jungle. They had the black kid wearing it.
Yeah, like from a kid in South Africa was
so it's
wearing
like
it.
them. It's like they're so innocent that it never even crossed their minds that this would be. They're so not racist that it never crossed their minds that this might be offensive to somebody.
And let's be honest, no one was actually offended by it. They just want to participate in the outrage culture and the Twitter mob because they feel virtuous for doing so. Watch, they went and told all of their friends how virtuous they were because they called Adidas racist for putting out a white shoe that is made of cotton, which guess what? almost every shoe is made of cotton.
Yeah. It's so great. So what's funny is I read this title, and that was my thought in my head. Whenever I read Adidas pulls all white sneaker, I was thinking like it's just all white. Like what's the problem? And then I start reading the tweets, and I'm just cracking up laughing, reading at these ridiculous things people say. Like, let's see if I can find some now. Adidas recently releasing an all white sneaker in Black History Month collection. Ain't it? I walked into JD Sports today, looked at the Ultra Boost shoe Adidas. I was told by an employee that these shoes were made to celebrate Black History Month. Confused, the employee proceeded to tell me that the shoe was also made of cotton, hence the all white. I'm disgusted. Like, it's like, that disgusts you? Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
honestly, and yeah, I think this is more demonstrated that we live in a post-prosperous time in which we are so prosperous, we're so rich now that all of our needs are met so well that the only thing we have to do is complain about things that we can't complain about. Like, let's be honest, there's some Black people in Africa who would kill, I don't know if they'd kill, but that might be going a little too far, but who would do a lot to get those Adidas white cotton shoes.
Yeah.
So your biggest complaint is that it's racist because it's white, and two, it's made from cotton. Well, I got news from you. You got a white shirt somewhere in your closet, and it's made of cotton too. So it's time to go burn it.
Yep, that's true. And it's oh, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I thought there was one more thing into there. Your shirt's white, it's made of cotton, and it's made by Vietnamese and Chinese slaves in factories.
Yep, that's likely. You buy that thing from Walmart. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll close this up here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You can find me at Matt Travis Blog on pretty much any social media platform. You can also find my writing at thekingsrights.com. That's thekingsrights.com.